Hello, I'm Yandere Dev, the developer of Yandere Simulator. Last year, an extremely serious allegation was made about me that I would like to address. The accusation is that I attempted to groom an underage fan of my game. I will take accountability and admit that I did discuss inappropriate topics with a fan. However, the accusation that I deliberately attempted to groom this fan is false. In this video, I would like to apologize for what I feel I should apologize for, but I would also like to give you the full story so that you know what is true and what isn't true. Let's start at the beginning. Last year, a fan of my game contacted me and wanted to chat. Usually, when a fan tries to talk with me, I just tell them that I'm too busy. But this person seemed really nice and friendly and funny, so I decided, you know what, sure, let's talk. She let me know right off the bat that she was 16, but I didn't see any problem with that. When I was 16, I had online friends that were in their 20s and 30s, so it just didn't feel weird to me. In the beginning, our conversations were normal, but she had a kind of adult sense of humor, and every now and then she would bring up a topic or ask a question that wasn't really appropriate. When this would happen, I wasn't entirely comfortable with it, but I rationalized to myself that it was no big deal and just kept talking with her. Eventually, I must have said something that sounded like a red flag to her, because at some point she started to record our conversations just in case I turned out to be some kind of predator. She showed our conversations to a YouTuber, and the YouTuber decided, yep, this guy seems like a groomer. We need to expose him. From what I've been hearing, it kind of sounds like the YouTuber started coaching the girl on how to manipulate me into saying things that would make me look bad, which wasn't what the girl wanted. But you don't have to just take my word for it. The girl has written a statement about the entire situation, giving her side of the story. I've put a link to it in the description below. I won't tell you what to think about it. You're welcome to read it for yourself and draw your own conclusions. So, with the YouTuber apparently instructing the girl on how to steer our conversations in an inappropriate direction, our discussions got pretty weird. I wasn't comfortable with it, and I tried to express that, but like an idiot, I just went along with it anyway. Because I had gotten into the habit of being really candid around this girl and just casually responding to whatever she said, it was very easy for her to get recordings of me answering questions I shouldn't have answered and discussing topics I should not have discussed. And the YouTuber then used those recordings to make a 40-minute long video accusing me of being a groomer. Out of respect for all of the people in the world who have actually been groomed, we should use the word grooming correctly. Grooming is when an adult tries to establish a relationship with a child with the intention of exploiting or abusing the child. That doesn't describe what I did. I didn't develop a friendship with the girl for that reason. That wasn't my intention. I did not attempt to establish a romantic or sexual relationship with the girl. But after having my behavior explained to me as commonly associated with romance, I can understand how it was interpreted that way. I feel like it's worth mentioning that a lot of the remarks I made only sound bad when they're out of context. For example, there was one time when the girl jokingly said, "You should make an OnlyFans." And I said, "No, that's dumb. No one would ever want to see that." And she said something like, "Come on, it's so easy to make money on OnlyFans." And when I heard that, I thought, whoa, that's a little concerning. Don't tell me that social media is brainwashing this generation to think that they should just go directly into porn the second they turn 18 because it's the best way to get rich quick. That's a little concerning. I wanted to know if she was joking or if she was being serious. So I asked her, "Are you planning to start an OnlyFans?" And of course, the YouTuber used the recording of me saying, "Are you planning to start an OnlyFans?" to frame me as someone who initiates horrifically inappropriate discussions with children, which is just completely dishonest. There's a part of me that wants to go point by point down the list of every single questionable or suspicious thing I said and provide context for absolutely everything, but that's not really the main issue here. For one thing, a lot of the stuff I said is just weird no matter what the context is. I'll just admit it. But more importantly, I never should have let conversations like that happen in the first place. A normal, mentally healthy adult would have just blocked the girl immediately after the very first time she said something inappropriate. But I didn't. And having to face that fact was a wake-up call that made me realize I had deteriorated mentally. So, after this whole controversy happened, I decided to take some time to just reflect and try to figure out how I had turned into the type of person who would let something like this happen. After talking it over with a lot of different people, I think I've developed an understanding of exactly how things got to this point, and I think I have the vocabulary to explain it now, too. Over the past 10 years, I neglected absolutely every aspect of my well-being in favor of working on my video game project. I almost never left my house for any reason. I had no social life whatsoever, and I had no one that I could call a true friend. A lot of people warned me that they could see my mental health deteriorating and that I was exhibiting a lot of self-destructive behavior, and I just ignored all of them. I was lonely and depressed and miserable and getting worse every year and doing nothing to make any of it better and ignoring all of the warning signs that were being given to me. When you neglect your psychological and social needs that badly for that long, you eventually become so desperate for social interaction and positive affirmation that you become willing to have inappropriate interactions you shouldn't be having, as long as it's fulfilling the social needs that have gone completely unmet for years. Acknowledging all of this was step one. Step two was determining what I would have to change about my life in order to repair the damage that I had done to my psyche over the past 10 years. So, I decided to just step back from game development for 3 months to just work on myself and try to develop a more healthy lifestyle. I started seeing a therapist. I started leaving my house and going outside and interacting with other human beings. I experimented with hobbies that don't involve the use of a computer screen. I found a much better work-life balance. And most importantly of all, I made friends. I developed a social life. I made meaningful connections with people my age. That made a bigger difference than anything else. I no longer feel so desperate for social interaction that I'd be willing to have inappropriate conversations just to fill some gap in my life. I feel like I've removed the weaknesses and vulnerabilities that enabled this entire situation to happen in the first place. It's worth mentioning that sometime after this entire controversy started, 2 images started to circulate. These images are fake Discord screenshots depicting interactions between me and children that have never actually happened. These images were either created in Photoshop or made by an impersonator using my username and avatar. This isn't the way that people speak to other people. This is the way that you write dialogue when you're trying to make a comical image for the internet to laugh at. These are not real. Another piece of information I would like to address would be the claim that I was grooming this girl ever since she was 9 years old. That's not true. Apparently, she sent me an email 7 years ago. I'm assuming it was just typical fan mail. I always respond to every fan who contacts me, so I must have replied and said something like, "Hey, thanks for your kind words, glad you liked the game." But just the fact that she had contacted me when she was 9, and then later she contacted me again last year, somehow magically transformed into a narrative that I had been grooming her for 7 years straight. No, that's not what happened. That's just something that people made up. But even though I didn't harm a child, even though I didn't traumatize or victimize anyone, I do feel that I've made mistakes that I need to apologize for. I allowed myself to deteriorate into a person who was making horrible decisions on a regular basis that not only harmed me, but also the people around me. By making some incredibly stupid and careless remarks during conversations I should not have been having, I created a huge, completely unnecessary scandal and made myself into a figure who is so controversial that people are afraid to be associated with me or have any kind of connection to my game. As a result, people who enjoyed contributing to the project had to quit, YouTubers who enjoyed playing the game had to stop. Companies had to sever all ties with me. And a lot of fans were deeply hurt and upset. I'm sorry for having stupid, inappropriate conversations I never should have had. I'm sorry for neglecting myself until I created problems for everyone around me. I'm sorry to all of the people who I ignored when they warned me countless times that my behavior was becoming more and more self-destructive. And I'm also sorry for one other thing. After this whole controversy started, people started targeting anyone associated with me or my project for harassment. People even targeted the girl that I spoke to, spreading misinformation about her and spamming her with horrible images. It's one thing to screw up your own life, but it's another thing entirely to screw up so badly that you bring hate and abuse and harassment into the lives of others just for being associated with you. I am deeply sorry for that. I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Well, now that I've owned up to what I did wrong and established that I'm not a groomer, where do we go from here? Well, I don't think that 3 months of self-care are enough to magically fix every flaw I've ever had. I'm sure I still have plenty of room for self-improvement, but I'm doing a lot better mentally now than I was before, and I think I'm ready to get back to work. I'm going to continue releasing updates for the game, and I'm going to continue releasing videos on my secondary channel. I understand that there's probably going to be less people contributing to the game, less people playing the game, and less people supporting the game, but I just have to live with that. No matter what kind of numbers I have, whether it's views or downloads or income or anything else, I'm still going to keep working on the game. It's too important to me for me to ever give up on it. There's a lot I would like to say about the current state of Yandere Simulator and the future of the project, but that's not what you clicked this video for, so I'm just going to write all of that in a blog post and link to it in the description down below. Just in case it wasn't already clear, I just want to firmly state that I don't blame the girl for anything that happened, and I don't want anyone to harass her or make fun of her in the comments section or anything stupid like that. So if that's what you are planning on doing, don't. Over the years, there have been a lot of other controversies as well. Some of them I never addressed at all, and others I attempted to address, but I just mishandled it and botched it and made things even worse. So eventually, I'd like to make a video, kind of like this one, where I actually address those past controversies properly. I can't guarantee when it will happen, but it is something that I do want to do in the future. With that said, there is one false accusation that I think is relevant enough to address now rather than later. I don't want this to turn into a long, rambling video, so I'll make this quick. There are a lot of people who are under the impression that I advocate for abolishing the age of consent and replacing it with a sex license. No, that is not true. 10 years ago, in 2014, I had a debate with someone about whether or not age should be the sole determining factor in deciding whether or not to judge someone as an adult. I argued that just because someone has blown out an arbitrary number of candles on their birthday cake, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that they are competent enough to make certain life-changing decisions. If you want to drive a car, you have to pass a driving exam and earn a driver's license. So I thought, what if it worked the same way with becoming an adult? What if there was some sort of exam or test that you had to pass in order to be recognized as an adult and authorized to make certain purchases and decisions? Well, if you think about it for like 2 seconds, you can immediately identify like a million problems with that concept. And that's because it's not an idea that I put any thought into. It's not some deeply held personal belief that I will die defending. It was just a random hypothetical thought experiment I came up with 10 years ago while I was being contrarian towards someone in an argument. But sadly, that's just one of dozens of random offhand remarks I've made over the years that have been screenshotted and used to paint a completely inaccurate picture of who I am and what beliefs I hold. So I think that when I eventually make a video to address past controversies properly, I should also clear up a lot of misinformation and misunderstandings as well. For now, though, I've said everything that I wanted to say. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being willing to hear me out.